Okay guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about James Rizzi. He's an American pop artist from New York City. His neighborhood of tall buildings, busy streets, and taxicabs can be seen in many of his colorful paintings. His work is linear and childlike with vibrant colors and zany imagery. He even had some of his art turned into buildings in Germany.
All right, guys, I'm so excited for us to make our James Rizzi buildings today. These are going to be so fun. First, we need to start by just adding buildings. So you can see I've got my ruler out. You would probably want to start this with a pencil and then go over your pencil lines with a Sharpie or black marker or black crayon. But so you can see it on the video, I'm going to go ahead and draw mine with my Sharpie. So first things first, I'm just going to start by making a vertical line. And then a horizontal line. And we kind of want to fill up this space with buildings. So you kind of want them to be overlapping each other and going behind each other. So maybe now I can make another one back here. And you definitely want to use some kind of a ruler or straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, find like the edge of a binder or a book or a box, something that will help you make a straight line so it looks a lot nicer and neater. And these buildings can be kind of funky and fun. They don't have to be perfect rectangles. Okay guys, so there we go. I have lots and lots of buildings, some of them some funky fun shapes. Then we get to do the fun part, which is add all kinds of fun faces on these and doors and windows and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm gonna start with just simple little faces. They do not have to be very detailed. And like I said, you guys might wanna start this with pencil if you're worried about making a mistake, because you can always erase pencil. And then once you realize you like it, then you can start going over your pencil lines with your black Sharpie or crayon or whatever you have. These are supposed to be super fun and really fill up your space. So you can see I'm just filling up my space with windows and cute little details to really add fun stuff to my drawing. And it's not as important to use a ruler for your windows because they're much smaller. But for those long lines for your building, you would definitely want to use a ruler or whatever straight edge you have. Okay guys, so I'm gonna do something kind of interesting to add color to these. I'm gonna get my markers. I have a few different ones here. Different colors. Then I'm going to basically just outline shapes that I want to be specific colors. If I want this little building to be orange, I make a nice thick outline with my marker. And any of these little details like windows and things, I'm going to color those with crayons. Because as we know, crayons act as a resist, which means when you add water to them, the water doesn't like them and the water kind of stays away. So I can color windows with crayons, and then when we do our cool technique with our markers, our windows will still have their fun, bright colors. So I'm actually going to color with the crayons first before I do the markers. Okay, so now I've drawn all those with crayon, all my little details. Now I can go back in with my markers. Now, if you're going to do this trick with the markers, you're going to want to go over your pencil lines for your building with not a black marker. You have to use a black Sharpie or a black crayon because we're going to add water to these. So if you go over your lines with a black marker, like a washable marker like this, all of your lines from your buildings will like smear all over the place. So that's a little tip. Now I'm just going to start outlining my buildings with my colors. And remember, make nice thick lines. So it has to be a nice thick line. I'll show you an example if it's not. So over here, maybe I'll just make a skinny line like that. For this trick, this skinny, it's kind of hard to see because there's so much going on, but I just drew this skinny little line. That's not going to work very well for what we're using it for. So make sure you make nice thick lines. And if you don't have markers, that's okay. You can color it in like normal. Okay, so now that I have all my buildings outlined, it would be pretty fun for in the background to add some kind of like swirly lines going on. So I'm gonna make sure to make little fun kind of like dotted lines that kind of go through my buildings, and I'm gonna do a bunch of different colors to make it really colorful and fun. But make sure I didn't make them super skinny or super little. They're nice, thick lines because we want them to show up when we do our next step. So again, nice thick dashes. So we have a lot of color going on. So you can see I'm just kind of filling up that background with all those fun colors. Now I can finally show you the trick. Set my markers aside. And then you're gonna wanna get a paintbrush, or if you don't have a paintbrush, you can use like a Q-tip, but you might need a few different Q-tips so you don't mix up your colors. But basically what you're gonna do, we'll start with this one on the edge. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get your brush or your Q-tip wet, and then you're gonna start on that edge of that color, and then just bring it in towards the center and basically just kind of paint with that color. And since we did our windows and stuff with crayons, we don't necessarily have to like avoid painting over those. I mean, if you can, you can, but if they're little, it's a little bit easier to just kind of paint over them. So there we go. You can see I took that really dark color on the edge and kind of pulled it in towards the center. So now my whole building has color, and the dark edges really make it pop. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. You kind of have to rub through that color to bring it through to the center. And this one's not as dark as that blue one, so it's not waking up as much. But that's okay. Some of them will be dark and some of them will be light. It's probably hard to see on the camera, but it's like a really light purple. Let's do over here. And try to be careful to only paint the building that you're supposed to be painting with that color. Try not to accidentally go outside of that building. And you can see I have to rinse my brush off between each color so I don't accidentally get like the blue in my yellow building. And you can see some colors show up brighter than others. Totally fine. So now I've done my buildings, it's time to do the same thing in my background. So again, I'm gonna be kind of careful that I'm only doing one color at a time, but I'm gonna kind of turn those little dashes into lines of color. So my background is super nice and colorful and fun. And these, since there isn't really like an edge, your colors might run together a little bit, but that's okay. That'll make it all the more colorful. And if your paper is still wet, those colors will just kind of continue to spread out. So you can see like down here, the colors are spreading a lot. Okay guys, there's my finished James Rizzi buildings. I think it's so cool with that marker, like watercolor technique. I think it's looking really, really fun. I can't wait to see how you guys do yours.